So what is the capability gap? Well, in my opinion, I think that Nick Saban defined it better than anybody when he said, it's what you're capable of relative to what you're doing. And I broke it down even a little bit further into two different categories: your physical capability or talents and your mental capability or talents. And your physical capabilities obviously are very easy to measure. It's your profits and sales. It's your performance, your points per game, or your time and speed, wins and losses. But the things that lead to greatness are your mental capabilities. And we all inherently know this. It's your focus. It's your trust. It's your loyalty to the process and to the program, being accountable, and your discipline that you bring every day. When Hall of Famers give speeches, they talk about their mental capabilities. They rarely talk about their physical capabilities or physical talents. I rarely hear anybody talking about their points per game or their yards per carry, because they talk about the people that block for them or the people that got them the ball. All right. So they talk about their relationships they have with other people, and they give credit to their coaches and to their teammates and to their parents or guardians. So when I give seminars, I always ask this question: what does it take to achieve greatness? And I'm not really amazed anymore, but every single time, people always give answers about their mental capabilities. We get these kind of answers. It's determination. It's trust. It's being on a mission. It's being thankful, having attention to detail. These are the things, and there's over 100 of them here, that get us to the next level. So I started to think about this, and I thought, what if we had a system that defined these expectations for mental capacity? So I took all those terms that you just saw, and I put them into one pyramid, into 21 different components, and combined everything into 3 different categories. At the very top, the gray area is your foundation. So unlike John Wooden's pyramid, this works from the top down as opposed to the bottom up. So your foundation is your wellness, your character, and your trust. The yellow area is your culture that you build, and the light blue area is the climate that you create through your culture. So I built this probably because I looked back and I reflected on when I became a varsity basketball coach about 25, 26 years ago. And I was really excited to take over a program. And I'll tell you a quick story about a kid that I had on the team. This kid was definitely our most competitive player. He was our best offensive player for sure, and a really good defensive player as well. But he was very, very competitive. He made every drill competitive, games competitive. And before the season started, he came and he said, hey, coach, you're expecting us to wear dress clothes for all the games. And I don't have any dress clothes. And I looked at him, I kind of thought, well, is he playing with me a little bit, or is he being serious here? And I took him for his word, and he was being serious. And just that, him coming up to me, showed some courage. But so what I did is I decided I'm going to call one of my buddies who was about the same size. He was about 6'4", 6'5", actually one of my best friends. It was a basketball junkie like me. And I called him up. I said, hey, Kent, hey, I got a kid that could use a couple pair of pants and maybe a shirt or two for games. And he's like, oh, sure, dude, come on down. I'll drive down and I'll give you some stuff. So I drive down to his house, and I get there, and he pulls out literally 2 large bags that he's put together of 4 or 5 pairs of shoes, belts, ties. I don't know how many shirts, tons of pants. He has all this stuff, and nice stuff too, considering the 80s or 90s, whatever it was. So I take this stuff back to my office the next day, and I call this kid in. I said, here you go. Here's the clothes. And he looked at it. And he's a very, quiet but nice person. He looked at it and just nodded his head and said, thanks. Tried things on and seemed to fit fine. I know even one of the teachers had commented that it looked really good. So I felt like I'd won some kind of little victory already. I really didn't know the person. I didn't know the kid. But I felt like I was doing my part. And we started the year 2-2. So we were thinking, I took over a program that had won 24 games a year before and graduated all their seniors. So we're looking pretty good. I thought, we're going into Christmas break, and I've got 15 practices ahead of me. And I'm all excited about that because I love going to practice. Not every kid likes going to practice, especially when you have 15 practices with no games. So this kid decided that he wasn't going to go to any of these, and I didn't see this coming. So I asked one of the seniors, I'm like, where is this guy? And he said, well, coach probably doesn't feel like it's important to be here. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's kind of offensive after I just gave him like $500 worth of clothes that wasn't even mine. So I felt a little bit bitter, a little betrayed by that. And in hindsight, I didn't think it through very well. So he doesn't show up for those 15 days, and I didn't do anything to try to get him there. I didn't leverage anybody else's talents on the team to make sure that he got there or communicate with him. I was too bitter. I was too short-sighted. I was too small-minded, and I had too many blinders on to kind of see what he might have been going through. I didn't make it apparent that, he was just as important to the team and the team was just as important to him. I kind of just overlooked that because of, I guess, the bitterness. I'm like, why would this guy do this? We're doing everything for him. And it just didn't really dawn on me. But what I started to realize is that later on is I really didn't value his competitiveness and some other things because I didn't know anything really about him. So we ended up being 2-20 that year. So we lost 20 games. And that has nothing to do, losing 20 games has nothing to do with the fact that I pretty much just quit on a player. And I got fired. And I deserved to get fired. And not because of the record, but because, and not really anybody brought it up about how I failed this kid, but I did personally, and I knew this. And when you get fired, it's actually a blessing in disguise. It may not seem like it at the time, but it forces you to really reflect. So if you ever just, if you've been fired in the sports world, you can relate, or even in the business world. But it does force you to reflect on what you could have done better. And I kept thinking, what could I have done better? What did I miss? What did I do wrong? And there was a lot of things, but this was probably the biggest one. And I thought to myself, why didn't I leverage the talents of the other kids that were there? The other kids that had the accountability and responsibility, because they had work ethic. They had the discipline. They had parents that made sure that they got there all the time. Did I know what was going on in his home life? No, I had no idea. I didn't care. And that's where I missed the boat. So I thought, what if we had a system that could put this together better and value it and assess it so that kids know what they're good at, what they can share with other people, and they have value for it. I mean, if I look back on it now, I went to him and I said, you know what, you're so competitive that we're not going to be competitive without you because of that mental capability that you had. So I didn't value that for him. And the worst part is that I didn't value the accountability and responsibility of his teammates that could have went and probably got him back on the team. Now, would we have won more games? Probably, but that's not the point. The point is we would have had a much better experience, a more fun season for sure, and they would have learned more about themselves and what they could give to other people if I were aware of this at the time. So that's why I put this together. And if you think about competitiveness, I'll break it down a little bit because I want to be able to assess this as well. So I thought after I built this pyramid, it'd be a great way to assess people. And it's really simple. There's nothing that's uniquely difficult about this. It's a real simple self-assessment. You can assess yourself, a teammate, or the entire team the way it's written. For example, competitiveness. If you're due about most of this, if you hit not all the expectations, but some of them, you're hovering at about a 3. But if you're this kind of person that just because you walk on the floor, people around you become more competitive, all right, and this happens all over, then you're at a 5 because you get people to compete at the highest level. And that doesn't mean this kid would have been out there saying, hey, you got to compete higher or harder. No, that's not how it works. It can influence people indirectly as well, just by being there and not wanting to lose something. Having that mentality, that mental capability rubs off on other people. And it's like that for any mental capability. Look at accountability. I'll go through some real quickly. Accountability. On great teams, players hold players accountable. So if you're doing that, if you do that and you're doing something for somebody else and you're doing all the component, you're at a 5. You're definitely at a 5. Let's take a look at another one. How about application? Everybody always wonders what Tom Izzo does. It's so great. What's his secret sauce? Well, I think it's this. He teaches to teach. He teaches players to coach. And this is what really makes him different and separates his team every single year. Because those people on his team, not only are they leaders, but They teach other people. They coach other people. So if you're doing this, you're at a 5, and anybody can do this on any team. You can be a teacher. Doesn't take a whole lot. Trust. There's a role for everyone. And Dabble Swinney does this just terrifically with a special needs person that you might have heard of. His name is David Seville, and he's the equipment manager on the team. And it's a remarkable story because David Seville brings not only energy, but he brings kindness. He brings love. He brings trust. He brings loyalty to the program. He instills bonds between people, and he doesn't even know it. And this is straight from Dabble Swinney's words, that he's impacting people, these high-level athletes, some of the best athletes in the world, just by the way he walks around and hugs people and shows trust and thankfulness and gratitude. And this works on any one of these capabilities. Perseverance, for example. What do you do as a teammate when you see somebody turn the ball over? Do you make sure that their body language is good? Because this is what Jalen Hands does. This guy, Jalen Hands, is definitely at a 5 because he gets teammates to overcome difficulties. And that's how the whole pyramid is broken down. It's very, very simple. So if you look at each one of these 21 components and you measure yourself and you think, oh, I'm doing this well. I show up on time. Good. Congratulations. You had a good upbringing. You had good coaches, good parents, guardians, whatever. And that's great. But you're at a 3 or a 4 unless you're doing it for other people. Because great things happen when you get others to do this, when you influence them either directly or indirectly by what you do, the way you carry yourself, and what you say. And this sums it up. I think PJ Flex sums it up because this entire thing that you're looking at, this is leadership. So your mental capabilities, the thing that you bring to the table, it all morphs into leadership. And everybody has the potential to be a leader. Every single person, whether they know it or not. And a team full of leaders is really an unstoppable force, and it leads to greatness. Thank you.